We are on.
Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
Yeah, and Johnny Sue is on the ones and twos. How do I
Well,
look, fam? I got natural light coming here. I got a haircut. I got product in the hair. We're matching. What do you think?
I don't know how we're matching. I'm really annoyed about that. That annoys me. It wasn't on purpose, you guys. We're not even in the same location.
I know,
We
right?
match.
I
Unbelievable.
didn't. I don't know why I decided to wear this and stuff, but I just said, let me wear for the advertising, get the Convo Couch going. That nice hot pink. You got that light pink. I mean, they think it represents Florida with the pink flamingos everywhere. Maybe that's
I
why
know.
we're just.
I'm sweating already, like literally just sitting here. Like it is so hot. Like just the humidity.
It's
Ugh,
ridiculous. But I don't have the
yeah.
same eczema problem anymore, fam, since we're coming up on a year of veganism. Actually, that problem's starting to go away. I think because I eat a lot of fruit now and I don't eat dead flesh.
Yeah.
That might be the reason why. Like it changes all that stuff. So I'm kind of happy because I thought normally if I'm in Florida in July at any time or June or July, it's so humid that I just start getting all those red blotches. Now I do have a little redness here and stuff, but that's from hanging out in the sun, not so much just the whole humidity getting me. So I'm very happy about that. Johnny kind of just pointed out, Johnny Sue on the ones and twos, pointed out that we're coming up on our year anniversary to what we experienced in Portland. Yeah, right. Like you want to talk about something that will give you PTSD, right? Like being in a van while the feds are smashing it in and running out while they're all pointing guns at you. We have to retell that story. But the important thing also too, not the important thing, but something a little side note to that was our first day of being a vegan, right? I mean, full on,
Yeah.
full blown vegan. It was like actually the second day, but I mean, wow, how could you ever forget that, right?
Yeah, yeah, especially when people are talking about January 6th and I'm not going to deny people's experience and it was scary just being there in the crowd. You didn't know what was going to happen. But as far as what the media and government officials have made it out to be the scariest thing since, I think somebody posted, was it Reed Coverdale or somebody was like, oh, January 6th was worse than the asteroid hitting the dinosaurs because that's what they're making it out to be. They're making it out to be like the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
So, like that was way scarier having guns pointed at you by people in power, by the feds.
Yeah.
Feds just like that,
After
like that.
smashing in the windows, and glasses all over you.
Yeah, for no reason, by the way, for no reason. They gave you 2 seconds to say anything and they were always going to smash it. So yeah, it's pretty bad. So guys, we have kind of some things to talk about. We're going to be going into Rokfin only for our last subject, which is COVID related. You know why
Yeah.
we can't talk about those things on YouTube? They'll shut us down forever. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, so please, 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 please go on the Rockfin and get ready to follow us on there. This is some important information that Pasta set up. I also have an article featuring one of our friends, Teodros, and he highlighted a couple of things I wanted to point out. So
Yeah. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, since we have a title that's a little bit flaggy according to YouTube, they probably didn't send out a lot of information or ring the bell. In fact, underneath the YouTube, it says, get the latest information from the CDC about COVID-19 vaccine. So please, guys, like, share, get over to the Rokfin, ROKFIN. Just really quickly, fam, we're going to read these real quick because they're just really 1, 2, 3, 4. Jackie Pagao, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Trey Wright, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch.
oh my
Reeve
God.
Barker. Wait. Reeve Barker, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always
Oh
appreciated
my
on the couch.
God.
And
Stop.
Jindo, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. 4 of them, back to back to back to back to back, fam. How do you like
Pasta
that? They
makes
love
one,
you.
so I'm gonna read it. Rob McMurdy, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is appreciated. ARM, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is absolutely appreciated. There is no
On
pasta
the
eating
couch.
this one. Okay,
you
we're good.
You got 6 in a row. Let's get into it because we got some stuff information to cover before YouTube shuts us down. Fam, I'm a Uyghurs man, right? Did I ever tell you that before?
But the Uyghurs, fam. So guys, this is really dangerous because this is also very hypocritical. Okay, so the U.S. Senate actually passed this bipartisan bill. This bill was led by Jeff Merkley and also Marco Rubio, bipartisan. They were working together, two senators working together on a bill banning all products from Xinjiang based on this whole thing about saving the Uyghurs, right? So this is from July 14th, Reuters. The US Senate passed legislation to ban imports of products from China's Xinjiang region. This is an effort to punish Beijing for what US officials say is an ongoing genocide against the Uyghurs and other Muslim groups. Since when has the United States, by the way, cared about Muslim genocide? I mean, if I recall, it was our fault that 2 million plus Iraqis died, but okay. The Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, that's what it's called, is going to create a rebutable presumption, assuming goods manufactured in Xinjiang are made with forced labor and therefore banned under the 1930 Tariff Act, unless otherwise certified by US authorities. This was passed unanimously. No surprise there. This measure would shift the burden of proof to importers. The current rule bans goods if there's reasonable evidence of forced labor. Since when has the United States cared about forced labor? So Marco Rubio, who, like I said, introduced this legislation with Democrat Jeff Merkley, is telling the House that they need to pass this extremely quickly. The House is actually likely to pass this, by the way. They said, we will not, this is from Marco Rubio, we will not turn a blind eye to the CCP's ongoing crimes against humanity, and we will not allow corporations a free pass to profit from those horrific abuses, Rubio said in a statement. And both of the Democratic and Republican aides said that this would likely pass the House, get strong support, and they had approved a similar measure last year. This is why they think it will pass. And this is going to go beyond the steps to already secure the U.S. supply chain in the face of allegations of abuses in China. And this already includes existing bans on Xinjiang tomatoes, cotton, and solar products. And Biden administration, in case you guys missed it, has increased sanctions and issued an advisory warning on businesses, telling them they could be in violation of U.S. laws if their operations are linked, even indirectly, to surveillance networks in Xinjiang. So what do you think about this, Fam?
Well, how hypocritical can we be, right? Like, we're going to sit over here and say, oh, they're using slave labor. Meanwhile, they passed NAFTA, so they didn't have to pay Americans a decent salary to increase and strengthen the workforce here. Instead, they take care of slave wages over in, China in the beginning. Now it's moved to Vietnam, Laos, those sort of things. American interest doesn't care, neither does the Congress. Let's be honest. They're so hypocritical when they say this stuff. And also the fact that they're talking about, the Uyghurs are oppressed and this is terrible and stuff. America has the biggest prison population per capita per citizen than any other country in the world. In fact, we have over 2 million people imprisoned here in the United States, almost 20% of the prison population right here in the United States. And what do we use them for? We use them for cheap labor. Even our vice president admitted that she held people in jail longer because she wanted to have them fight the fires for $2 an hour. So I mean, this is just so hypocritical, and they are still doing that. Yeah. So this is as hypocritical as it comes right now, and also too with very little proof. We saw the BBC network's information going to Xinjiang, looking at these camps. They called them. They look more like schools and stuff, which really went to the heart of the problem that was created in the first place. Operation Mongoose in Xinjiang, when the CIA used Xinjiang as a toilet bowl and used their citizens and funded the worst jihadists in the Mujahideen and people in Xinjiang to smuggle these weapons, the Stinger missiles, in from China to Afghanistan. So not only do we create the problem, we're not addressing it, just like what with Cuba, fam. Once again, we created the problem, we're not addressing it. We're now doubling down and trying to sell this false bill of goods to people across the country, both Democrats and Republican. And it's, quite frankly, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, and you said it right there. Just like in Cuba, look at the language that Marco Rubio is using in terms of the Uyghurs. It's the same type of language he's using in terms of Cuba. Again, it is worth noting, this is when neocons and Democrats who consider themselves neoliberals but are ultimately agree on policy. It's when it comes to imperialism, when it comes to sanctions, when it comes to this type of behavior. They're trying to punish China, right? Beijing. And this is only going to hurt Xinjiang's economy. It's only going to completely destroy it, basically. And if they cared about the Uyghurs, they wouldn't be destroying their source of income. This is going to destroy any sort of jobs that that population has. So this isn't about the Uyghurs. This is about exerting control and trying to make Beijing pretty much comply with what the United States wants. This is that whole anti-China sentiment that I always tell people on the right to stop with it, because this is partly what continues this whole imperialist mindset of regime change. And of course, we have seen, you know, multiple allegations that what's happening with the Uyghurs is the way the Western media frames it is only one part of the story. It's not the complete story. We've had multiple people on this show who are from the region to talk about, you know, China and talk about the intricacies of really the propaganda around the Uyghurs. You know, you can criticize China independently to be, you know, different than what we are, but to call China authoritarian in the same vein while not criticizing the United States as to the authoritarianism we're exerting upon our own citizens right now is hypocritical, absolutely hypocritical. And we know this is not about the Uyghurs. We have never cared about Muslim lives. The government has never given a damn about killing innocent civilians abroad. They don't care about Palestinians. They don't care about people in Yemen. But if they stand to profit, they will turn it into a humanitarian crisis that they can exploit and get, you know, a huge portion of the left, which attacks us as tankies for simply saying, hey, by the way, what these people are saying isn't valid. You know, this whole Uyghur genocide thing is not what it seems. And so it's interesting. Now you have some people on the left agreeing with the same talking points from the neocons on in the liberal and the conservative side. So that's how you know you're on the wrong side of things. You're agreeing with fucking Marco Rubio and freaking establishment Democrats like Joe Biden, who said from the beginning, he told us, I will send more ships to the South China Sea. So
yeah, and I think people always question that narrative. They say, okay, is this the Democrats pandering to the conservative base and stuff? The votes they think they could get by showing they're tough on China and stuff, you know, where they have supposedly all these connections of like, oh, there's financial ties to China and whatnot. I'm quite frankly just sick of hearing about the whole situation when it comes to election integrities and people trying to tie it to China and stuff like that. So, I mean, the pandering is beyond belief and stuff. You know, it doesn't make a difference, Republican or Democrat, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to imperialism, they are united. The CIA and the military industrial complex, they get their narrative out. It's repeated by the mainstream media, all the way down to right now. You got people like, you know, Vosh going on other shows like Kyle and Crystal and Friends and stuff like that. Why are they giving these guys a platform when Vosh has been like pro-anti-Assad, you know, like justifying what's going on with Syria? He's like, oh, I did a report on Xinjiang and I can do it. But he's not going to have anybody credible come and debate him on these situations. You know what I'm saying? So it is kind of weird too. Also, can we just get to cleaning our own house? Why do we have to always get our nose on what's going on everywhere else when we have a shit problem over here at home? I think we pointed out earlier in this segment that United States has the biggest prison population in the world per capita per person. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the Congress and the military industrial complex are trying to do. They're trying to frame this Uyghur situation as like they have over 1 million people in concentration camps, you know, and saying to justify what goes on in the United States here with our prison industrial complex and whatnot. We need to look inward. We need to clean our own shelf, right? We need to clean our own house before we start projecting out to anybody else. And I'm not buying it, and I hope a lot of people don't either.
And just to point that out, you said, you know, we have the prison industrial complex. That also includes the immigrants that we still have locked up in these detention centers. And that, you know, could be compared to concentration camps. They had no protections against COVID, nothing. People are dying. There was mass hysterectomies performed. Like those are crimes against humanity. I mean, Alberto Fujimori is currently serving prison time for the mass hysterectomies he pushed on Native American women, and the United States is doing that right now in 2020. They were doing it in 2020 onto this year. And you're telling me that the Uyghurs and China Like, it's like, look over there so you don't look over here. Again, once you start realizing how evil the empire is, and I don't mean the American people, I mean the military industrial complex and the state agencies that are actually in control. Because believe it or not, Joe Biden, neither Trump nor most of the presidents have really had much of a say in what happens. And anybody that tries to oppose the national security state apparatus is assassinated or completely just smeared to no end. So yeah, that's that section. Anything else you guys want to say on that?
Yeah, well, really quickly, just
Bam.
Embled Fates. Hold on, Embled Fate left an article, left a Super A up. Thank you so much. It said, I said it before. Check it out. Daniel Dumbrell. He visited Xinjiang, best to debunk the propaganda and spread the word. This makes no sense because, as we know, if you want to stop a debunked genocide, you cut off people's source of revenue. That'll somehow help. A great point, Embled Fate. And I just kind of clicked on to his YouTube page, so I'm going to watch his stuff. Also, Jesse Codora Leon said, I just want to take time to plug Gilbert Gottfried is having a benefit show to raise awareness for mental health fundraiser live show this Saturday at Bijou Theater in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you are in the area, please come by. Gilbert Gottfried is a national treasure. Please support this cause of mental health. It's important, especially now more than ever. And I agree with you whatsoever, 100%. You know, a lot of the homeless population is mentally ill, and that's why we need Medicare for all or some type of system that will give them help. Fam, go right ahead. I'm sorry about that.
No, just please hit the like button on Rokfin and share the YouTube as well. We are being heavily suppressed on this stream, I can already tell. With the CDC, I mean, normally we have like 300 people by now. This is like crazy. So guys, just share the stream. And like I said, we're going to be going into Rokfin only for the COVID update on what's going on with that.
Yeah, share that's, and you can see there's a little COVID-19 warning. Get the latest from the CDC below. So that's what they're doing, guys. They're suppressing the hell out of this information. They continuously take channels down. They keep continuously suppressing people. Matt Orfalia, Allison Morrow, both on Rokfin now, right? I believe Matt Orfalia has an account. He's going to start posting on there. He has to. He has no choice. And this is something we made a move years ago, about a year and change ago, because we knew it was coming. We understood that they're going to suppress our voices. And these voices, and I'm not just saying it because I'm being biased to the Convo Couch and the MCSE network and all our fans, but these are some of the most important voices because we're speaking against the narrative. And you can see when you did your Cuba story, fam, which was amazing, and when me and Niko, we went over a lot of what you were showing, the information that you were putting out, that's the information they're desperately trying to stop, because the military-industrial complex and our elitist, our predator class, they want to get one narrative out. And that narrative is a manufacturing consent for regime change, imperialism, the status quo. And the only way we stop it, we speak out against it. So please hit the like button, hit the share button, get over to Rokfin, follow the people who are getting suppressed, because they're getting suppressed for a reason.
Absolutely, fam.
All right. So the second part, we're doing the Arizona audit update. I know a lot of you guys, people saw this out there. I certainly watched a lot of the hearing the other day. I obviously have friends in Arizona that I was calling, speaking to. I got some stuff that I can't speak to on the record just yet. We have to wait, but we're just going to give a little analyzation about what's going on. And I would say there's some good, some bad, right? Fam, first of all, the team they use to do this audit was probably not the right way to go, right? You go to this kind of conservative, QAnon, conspiracy-based kind of people. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, Patrick Byrne just did the movie The Deep Rig. He says that QAnon is full of shit. However, he still goes to that kind of Chinagate mentality, right, fam? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they're bringing in papers from freaking bamboo with bamboo in them. That's how we check. And we've been saying this the whole time. Like, this is, you know, I think that Johnny and Raji Rob kind of coined this a long time ago when we would have our discussions. No, our enemy is within arm's length there. This is within the house. The call is coming from inside the house, not friggin' Beijing or Xinjiang. And that's something we have to understand. So let's just go over some main points of what happened with the audit. They had a hearing the other day. The main thing to understand is that the audit team has still not received a lot of the data from the county, from the Board of Supervisors of Maricopa, from the original subpoena. So what they were subpoenaed for, they didn't get all that information. We talked about this when we went down there, when Ken Bennett, who is the liaison, he's the Secretary of State for Maricopa, for Arizona, in fact. He's the liaison with Doug Logan, who is the main auditing team, and Ben Cotton. Okay. The only problem is when you put Doug Logan in charge, and I had no problem with a guy like Doug Logan or Javon Hutton Pulitzer being involved, but the comparisons to what they found in Arizona to what they found in Georgia from our friend Garland Favorito, who is just one guy with an all friggin' volunteer group called Voter GA, they had discovered so much more. Why? Because they've been working in this election integrity field for a long time. They knew exactly what to look for. Whereas if Doug Logan, cyber ninjas, they're learning on the fly. And when you're learning on the fly, it's really going to kick you back, and it's going to make the optics are going to look bad just from the get-go. The things that they are looking for, the slug logs, which are from Maricopa County, all the routers from the internet. They want to see who accessed all these machines, these tabulation machines. They refuse to give over the slug logs. They say it will put people in danger. Even the sheriff came on to say, no, we can't do that. It's bullshit. The server logs, right? This is something that Raji Robb has been looking on. They want to see who accessed the machines. They want to know what they did when they accessed it, because it appears that in Arizona, Maricopa County, that Ben Cotton, who was one of the auditors from the software point of view, as far as the electronics concerned, he's saying that they are seeing stuff that people accessed it with certain permissions, certain privileges from outside the network, and they can't see what they did until they get these secondary passwords. They were never given those secondary passwords, fam. So that's something to look at. But the one thing that's really positive right now is that the audit team is still canvassing. They're still going door to door. They're knocking on door to door, going, hey, man, does this person live here? Did they vote in the last election? Oh, that person doesn't live anymore. Did they get a ballot? What's going on? And there appears to be a lot of discrepancies with registered voters that were removed off the voter rolls the day after, or some beforehand that were really added on to as well. So let's take a look at these 3 videos, fam. If you have anything to add before we get into, and it would really just kind of talk about what they're discovering, because they are still looking for stuff. However, I think that they really made a big bad boo-boo by not getting into people like Garland, people like Benny Smith, John Brakey. These are the guys who should have been running these audits, because they understand what's going on. We understand for years now. And you look at the ballot images first, and then you can pinpoint where to go. And they didn't do that. And in fact, fam, they haven't even looked at the original ballot images. And it's important to look at the ballot images, because that's what's tabulated. That's what's counted. And when you look at that first, it will pinpoint you where to go, rather than do what Doug Logan and Cyber Ninjas did, which was create a whole nother bunch of ballot images and then work from there. They're working backwards and spending a lot of time and a lot of money when they could have gotten a lot of results early up right away.
Yeah, just one of the things that we have always criticized is that some of these people, just like people on the left, go from their ideology. We're going from their ideology, their biases against China, and they're trying to think that there was some sort of Chinese interference on this, just like we're saying that Russia here. Once you have bias, you don't see things clearly, and things are going to get in your way, and they're doing twice as much work instead of just going straight to, okay, what happened here. And I think that's one of the things that the right needs to learn, is to put their ideology aside as well, because when it comes to election integrity, it's a bipartisan practice, it's a bipartisan need, because we know that both parties rig elections. So
yeah, and that's why the right is so fast to criticize Dominion software, because Dominion software, when you look down the rabbit hole and you can't get all the information, but there appears to be ties to a lot of Democratic establishment people. But guess what? ES&S has ties to Republican establishment people, and they're not talking about ES&S, which they have the same type of features for fraction magic and ways they can flip a vote and stuff like that. So they're not even mentioning proprietary software, and only guys like Benny Smith, along with Lulu, who we're reaching out to Lulu, fam. We got to get Lulu on the show to talk about everything that happened in New York. And we pointed out what happened in New York. Guys, there were test ballots, not ballots with bamboo coming from the CDC. CDP, sorry, Chinese CCP, Chinese Communist Party. Not from the CCP and shipping in ballots. There were test ballots. And guess what, fam? There's no chain of custody. So these things were printed at will. They were clustered at will, which means stuffed into the ballot box. So we have to look at everything as a whole. And let's just go over these videos. By the way, Jig Forever left a Super 8 contribution, and he says, looking forward to the election audit update, especially what might be happening in Arizona. So let's look at the first video from Ben Cotton, one of the guys who's one of the software engineers. He's doing the auditing process as far as looking at the access in and out of the computers of the tabulation machines, trying to get answers. Here's his first video.
As part of that, the course of that normal anonymous action, the Windows logs will actually record the username that is requesting that action. It will record the IP address that is originating the request, and it will record the host name of that originating client. What we are seeing here, and what does require additional correlation with NetFlow data, is we're seeing anonymous logins at the system level that do not follow that pattern of normal Windows behavior, okay? And so we need to have that additional data to validate what that activity is.
Thank you.
So they're not giving all the information, by the way. And I just want to shout out to Patricia Perlow, because we talked about this right away. And that's why she was so intrigued with the case with Raji Rob too as well, is understanding who's accessing stuff from the back end and where are they accessing it from. You don't have the slug logs, which are all the routers, which will tell you if somebody accessed those machines, and you can pinpoint that. And then you can see exactly what they were doing in the back of the house with these server logs to change the count or get a count or vice versa, fam.
Yeah. Yep.
Johnny, you got anything to say about that?
Nope.
Okay. So here's another problem too as well. And a lot of people are interested about this too. With this particular election, right? It wasn't a case of addition by subtraction. In other words, a lot of times they would suppress a vote, right? Like you hear a lot of people talking about, we want everybody to vote. They're going to suppress the vote. They're not going to let people to vote. Very common, the state we're in right now, Florida. The election with Bush and Gore. A lot of people showed up to vote. They said, no, I'm sorry, you're a prior felon. You cannot vote. They kicked you to an absentee ballot, not an absentee ballot, a provisional ballot. And that provisional ballot never got caught. In some cases, they didn't even give you a provisional ballot. They said, sorry, sir, you got to clear it with the registrar, and then you can come back and vote. And they never did. This is a case where it's different, where you have a lot of extra votes, right? Where you have an abnormal amount where you go, holy shit. This place in Michigan over here, they had 90% participation rate. In fact, in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, they had to change the Secretary of State's webpage because they had 115% participation, and they had to knock it down to 90% and change those numbers because people caught them. So this was a case where you had more ballots than expected, not less. And it's another tactic, you know what I'm saying? You can fix an election by clustering, they call it, which is the Bill Benny word, stuffing the ballot box. And when you have a system where you have absentee ballots that don't require a lot of verification, and you have poll booklets, and this is something we did a show, fam, with David Weber, who had an open source mail-in absentee program that would show, you know, okay, this person right here accessed the ballot, whatnot, and you wouldn't be able to stuff the ballot box by inflating the voter rolls. Well, this is we're going to talk about. So let's take a look at this one. The first video right now, we have two of them. And I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, your sources, OAN. Yeah, they just put a camera on the hearing and we can listen to what they're saying in the fucking hearing. So you really can't say it's not a credible source. I went to the Senate website and it's all choppy because they had way too many people watching it. So I had to go to this video. So,
which one is it?
It's the second video. And it's talking about the 74,000 mail-in ballots discovered where there's no clear record of them being sent. I'm sorry
so for
if I didn't
example,
click on the right one.
74,243 mail-in ballots where there is no clear record of them being sent. And just to be clear, here in the state of Arizona, there's EV32s and EV33s. EV32s is supposed to give a record of when a mail-in ballot is sent, and an EV33 is supposed to give a record of when the mail-in ballot is received. And so there should be an equal, there should be more EV32s, more sent out than there are that are received. Specifically with these, we can tie them to a specific individual that was mailed to. And so we have 74,000 where we have them came back from individuals where we don't have a clear indication that they were ever sent out to them. That could be something where documentation wasn't done right. There was a clerical issue. There's not proper things there. But I think when we've got 74,000, it merits knocking on a door and validating some of this information.
So, Madam President.
So there you go again, fam. Like, the chain of custody is all messed up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to me that happened and nobody's like a little bit alarmed. Like, it's just, and the thing is, like, because the right is the one doing, most of this investigating, a lot of people have completely discarded. And I want to say what you mentioned too earlier when it came to the how, it's weird that 97% of a voting like a region of a of a section got 97% voter turnout. That is rare in America when you have like so many people that don't vote, right? Like statistically, so many people do not vote. There's a plethora of reasons why. Among them, they don't trust elections. They don't care. There's a lot of apathy. When people compare, because people have said this to me, well, how are you saying that Keiko Fujimori's election is not, her calls about election fraud aren't valid? And in some regions, she had, Pedro Castillo had 99% or 98% of people voting for him with no votes for Keiko, or the vast majority of people, the voter turnout rates were so high there. Or when they'll bring in Assad and they'll say, how did Assad have this high turnout? You cannot compare those elections to American elections. Why? Well, people overwhelmingly support Bashar al-Assad. Why? He saved them from US hegemony. Like his actions were able to save Syria from getting couped and getting under the control of the Western Empire. With Peru, there's a huge interest in voting there. It's compulsory, meaning if you don't vote, you get fined. So people vote, and there is no mail-in ballots in any of these places. There's no absentee voting. There's no ballot harvesting. There's no vote by mail. It's a completely different system, and people there are encouraged to vote. They take effort and time in knowing what's going on in their government. Whereas here, you could go around, who is your senator, who is your congressman, and most people won't know that. They'll know, who's a football player and who is this celebrity, but they won't know the intricacies of the government. You have to take that into consideration when you're comparing this. And it's not me being biased by saying Keiko has no serious proof. It's because she doesn't have it. Like, even looking at it from a perspective of an election integrity activist, she doesn't have it. And so when people bring that in to say, oh, well, you're just siding with the right because it's convenient. No, we're saying you're talking about 74,000 ballots and nobody knows what the fuck is going on with that.
Yeah.
Like that's unacceptable. You can't, there's no news of 74,000 ballots missing in Peru or missing in Syria. They're like, that doesn't happen there because you don't have absentee ballot voting. And and Democrats have made it this whole, you don't want people to vote. You don't want poor people and people of color to vote. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a reason why so many countries around the world, not just the ones I mentioned, but others like in France, they don't use vote by mail because it is ripe for fraud. There's so many things that if you don't track that ballot, if you don't track it, it's just so easy for anybody on any political party or ideology to really take advantage of that.
Yeah. And the next part, fam, and that was well said. 11,326 people voted in the election, but did not appear on the voter rolls on November 7th, but did show up on December 4th. And that's what I'm saying. They're trying to cover their ass, trying to sit on the information. Let's just watch this quick video right now, Johnny. Did you get that one lined up?
So we have also seen some interesting things related to the voter rolls. So, for example, we have 11,326 people that did not show up on a November 7th version of the voter rolls that should have been after votes were cast, but then appeared on the December 4th voter rolls. And just to be clear, they show as voted in this past election, but they were not on November 7th version of the file, and they did show up on the December 4th version.
Okay, that sounds confusing.
I-
Is there, give me an explanation of why that might have, I mean, we're not saying there's fraud, we're not saying anything else. I'm just trying to find answers. Is there a logical explanation why that would be?
I cannot think of a logical explanation on what that would be, but it'd be a great thing to hear back from the county to see if there's anything that we're not thinking of.
Okay.
You're a right-wing conspiracist. That's what you're trying to do, fam. You're a China, Russia, Gator, crazy person. There's plenty of explanation. We wanted more people to vote, more diverse coalition, and we allowed them to vote. And now you're trying to strip them of their voice. You racist. What's wrong with you?
That's the thing. That's why you can't focus on your ideology at all, because they will take that and run with it. And that's the sad part, right? Like there's all these there's all these like little discrepancies. There's all these discrepancies and like these things that are happening that we're looking into, that we're seeing being exposed right now on our elections. And instead of looking at what's being exposed, people are like, well, that's the right wingers saying it. They're full of conspiracies. It's like,
Oh, Johnny, you there?
Yeah. Fees.
I think Fee froze.
Fee froze.
So, well, I mean, she's right. And when she gets back on, let her sign in and sign out. Let me just read really quick. The new evidence reveals Georgia audit fraud and massive errors. And this was a press release by voter GA. Garland Favorito, who's a good friend of ours now, talked to him on a regular basis. We went down to Georgia. We were able to interview two people. In particular, one, her name was Bridget Thorne, where she worked as a software engineer, volunteer, worked alongside Dominion people, where they had a lot of mail-in ballots, they found out, that got their way into the system. Test ballots. They were making test ballots. They got them into the system. They were counted. Susie Voiles found them on the recount, and she was saying, look at this, whatnot. And also, they've just found out a lot of crazy things. Now, this is something I want to point out. There's a guy in Georgia named Garland Favorito who has this group called Voter GA. It's about 11 to 12 people, I think. I can find out the exact amount, but it's all volunteers, right? Guys, Mom, all volunteers. And literally all volunteers, and they're kicking Arizona's butt. Why? Because they've been in the election integrity game for a while. They understand how to work these things. It was bad optics from the get-go to allow Doug Logan to lead the charge when it came to this audit. And I'm not saying he's done an awful job. However, it seems like they're learning a lot on the fly, and they should have reverted to people like Garland Favorito, Benny Smith. John Brakey should have had a bigger role. And John Brakey was right. You look at the ballot images first, and that will pinpoint where you got to go, because the ballot images is what's counted. The machine takes a picture of the ballot, and that picture is then counted. So here is the new evidence from reveals Georgia audit fraud and massive errors. Atlanta, Georgia petitioners in a lawsuit organized by Voter GA to inspect the Fulton County ballots have added stunning claims to their amended complaint and provided new evidence for public records that show that Fulton County's hand count audit of November 3rd, 2020 election was riddled with massive errors and provable fraud. Most allegations and evidence are based in Voter GA data team's analysis of Fulton County November 2020 mail-in ballot images. Remember, they got them in 200 DPI, and they went back and they want better images, and the judge granted them permission to do that. It was made public after petitioners won a court order on April 13th in Voter GA lobbying efforts led by the Georgia General Assembly to make images public under open records request beginning on March 25th. Fam, Johnny, this is something that they're talking about. You gotta make those public images. You gotta make those images public and for the record right away. They don't do that. In fact, a lot of people have been found to get rid of those images before people can come knocking and say, let me see those images. But if they're made public record on election night, that data, then there's a lot harder areas to cheat on. That doesn't mean they can't still stuff the ballots with Fugazi ballots, stuff the ballots with fake, ballots and all that stuff. They can do all that stuff too as well. That's another issue, but this is one issue right away. And just take a look at this. The team's analysis revealed that 923 out of the 1,539 mail-in ballot batch files contain votes incorrectly reported in Fulton County's official November 3rd, 2020 results. These inaccuracies are due to discrepancies in votes for Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and total votes cast compared to their reported audit totals for respective ballots. Thus, the error reporting rate in Fulton County's hand count audit is a whopping 60%. One type of error discovered involved duplicate results reporting for batches. The team found out at least 36 batches of mail-in ballots with 4,255 total extra votes were redundantly added to Fulton County November audit results. This includes 3,390 extra votes for Joe Biden, 865 extra votes for Donald Trump, and 43 extra votes for Joe Jorgensen. This is not simply a case of error. The voter GA team found that 7 falsified audit tally sheets containing fabricated vote totals for their prospective batches. Now he gives an example, but we're gonna play a little video from Garland Favorito that shows you what he's talking about. And let's remember here now, fam. Garland Favorito is not a Trumper. Garland Favorito supported Tulsi Gabbard. Garland Favorito was a leftist. And he said, when we first interviewed him, he's like, it's just crazy the way all the progressives have just, cut tail and run from election integrity because they like the results in this particular case because of the Trump derangement syndrome. So let's just listen really quickly to Garland Favorito at a press conference the other day and what he's talking about. And really, to tell you the truth, Garland Favorito hit it on the head. Instead of this whole anomalies that we talked about, we have to say mathematical impossibilities because that's what they are.
100, Trump nothing. Batch 3, Biden 100, Trump nothing. Batch 4, Biden. Batch 3, Biden 100, Trump nothing. Batch 4, Biden 99, Trump 0. These are statistical impossibilities. Everyone would know that. Another group of batches, Biden 100, Trump 0. Biden 100, Trump 0. Biden 150, Trump 0. Biden 200, Trump 0. Secretary of State has to know that this information was incorrect. It's been there for months, ever since this audit data has been released. It's public data. And I challenge everyone out there, particularly the media, stop telling us there is no evidence of election fraud. You're lying. There is evidence of election of fraud, and anyone in the country that says that there's not is lying to you. It's time for the people in this country to...
Boom, 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 boom. Garland Favorito dropping bombs right there, telling you what's going on. These are mathematical impossibilities, and this information's out there. And good for him. And like I said, this guy has an all-volunteer crew. He's got no money, and he just kicked Arizona's butts when it comes to an audit to bring people the truth.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that point again, this is unlikely. It's an impossibility, a statistical anomaly, an impossibility, because that doesn't happen here at all. When you have the low voting record turnouts, when you have people add on to that the political, apathy and the political distrust in the two-party system, you're not going to have those numbers for somebody like Joe Biden, who reportedly got 12 million more votes than Barack Obama. When I was literally following the campaign, and I was following the entire campaign. It was, both Bernie and Tulsi's campaigns, and you could see the excitement for Bernie Sanders. You could see the excitement for Tulsi, even though she was more of a smaller campaign. But you didn't see any of that for Joe Biden at all whatsoever. So add to that the numerical backing to what we saw. It just doesn't make any sense, and people should be allowed to question, even if you think that they're wrong. If you think that the election, would have signaled a Biden win anyway, we should have in a system where we don't have trust in the chain of custody and where we don't have election transparency, you should expect people to distrust it. If you actually want people to trust the system, then make it transparent. But instead, they're gaslighting people and making everybody out to be a conspiracy theorist. And too much of the left has gone along with that. just completely just dismissed it without looking into every single thing. Even people that I like, even people that are our friends, have entirely refused to touch this. And a lot of it is because they don't want the backlash from everybody calling them a right winger or a conspiracy theorist or this and that. We know for a fact that our elections haven't been fair for decades.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I'm glad you went down to Peru, fam, because now you can explain to people like, oh, look, well, they're trying to make this comparison to Keiko Fujimori, to Donald Trump. And you're like, wait a second. If you look at the requirements for a Peru election, you would consider them Jim Crow on Superman powers. Like, you got 1 day of voting.
Yeah.
There is no mail-in ballots with that and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's, and here's the thing. They're very fluid. You get in and out in 5-6 minutes. The fact that we're the best America, but we have to wait 5-6 hours to vote. I mean, this system is broke on purpose because both sides are playing it, right? Both sides, ES&S is a Republican, is connected to Republicans. Really, that's what they said so far. You can never really find out what's what because their proprietary ownership is just like their software proprietary. You can't know. It's not your right to know, even though the election's publicly funded. So they don't talk about the things they need to talk about. This kind of going back and forth really is, I'm fearful of what they're going to produce in Arizona because it might just kind of taint the whole process of looking into elections more. People have dug in on the ground and they're holding to their own beliefs and not looking for the truth and not just understanding how these elections work. We know so many people too as well. All the independent journalists that we fought with, right, that I've had like gone online and knocked heads with, they don't even understand how elections work. They haven't even looked into it. You know what I'm saying? We look into it like you're looking into the intricacies of a poker game. Like, understanding the rules. What's going on? How is this going on? If you understand all the rules, you wouldn't even play that game. You're like, I'm not going to play that game. That's a rigged game. Why would I play that game? No way. So I'm very proud of what Garland's doing in Georgia, in Fulton County. He's getting better images. They're going to know more. But what he just produced to you right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's impossible. And that is evidence. That is evidence. It's been out there for a long, long time. And people have just ignored it. Goes, what evidence do you have? Well, look at this. These are mathematical impossibilities. And they didn't just happen in Georgia. They happened in Michigan. They happened in Wisconsin. They happened in Arizona. They happened in Nevada. They happened in Pennsylvania. They happened all around the country. Because why? The establishment knows how to rig elections. They've been doing it for a long time, fam. And in the technocratic age, they got even more by the cojones. You know what I'm saying?
cojones, yeah.
Well, we say cojones, whatever.
No. Oh, okay, sure.
All right, yeah. Brooklyn is different than, Latino and stuff. And all right, Chino Latino, speaking of, Chino Latino says the couch is always appreciated here. Thank you for the Super Ray. We appreciate that love. Guys, it gets us on the ground doing what we like to do. Fam, you got anything to say before we get on over to Rokfin only?
No, let's just get right over to Rokfin. Yeah, we've already pretty much touched on every point. Just make sure you all come on over on Rokfin. This is an important discussion. We have some receipts for you, and you guys should check it out.
Yeah. Love Tagore on YouTube. Get over to Rokfin. You're a poker player. You're going to love this site. We could talk poker all day. And if you compare our elections to a poker game, you'd be like, this is the biggest rigged game in the house. The game of elections, the way it's set up, would be more rigged than any carnival game out there. Literally. And I remember when we were at the carnival next to the Arizona thing, I'm like, Johnny, take a look at the basket. When you look at the basket straight on, it looks like a regular hoop. You stand next to it, you see it's oval, and it's almost impossible to get it in there. That's what our elections are like. They appear to be fair, but they are fake and phony. And people use the whole talking point of like, oh, they're just trying to suppress the vote. That's all Republicans want to do. That's just a lie. It's just a lie, and we need to fix these elections because if we don't have our fair elections, we can't get anybody in a position to fight for any of the policies that we want so badly.
All right, guys, that's it for YouTube. Thank you so much for being with us. We love you guys. Lucky Burrito.